The greatest form of control is dependency. You need this to survive, and because of this economic Armageddon we have created, we are the only way you're going to get it. And you know, to get it, you do exactly what we say. Everything is a frequency. My voice now is a frequency. Mendacity, lies, deceit is a frequency. Truth is a frequency, a much more powerful frequency. We are in the situation we are now because of mass human perception. Part of that perception is there is a dangerous virus, so I must stay indoors because the authorities are looking after my interests and they've told me that I have to, and if I go out I might catch this deadly virus and oh my God, we're all going to die. If you concede to stupid, you become bloody stupid. You can't produce a vaccine for something you've not isolated. But if it's a scam to put what's in that vaccine into every man, woman, and child on the planet, then you don't need to develop a vaccine for a virus, because that's not the idea of the vaccine. The idea of the vaccine is to get into people what has been planned to be in there all along. The synthetic human they are planning in the next stage is designed to have no means of procreation. We are love, that's what we are. Everything else is what we are programmed to perceive that we are, and that's the enslavement. We need people to stand up, look the dragon in the eye, and wait for the dragon to blink, because it will.
The world is changing. Inspiration is everywhere. It has never been so easy to connect, share, and bring people together. We're learning from others and finding the best in ourselves. Challenging our beliefs. Sharing our vulnerability. Overcoming our fears. Transforming ourselves so we can transform the world. How far can we go?
This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is...
Hi, it's Brian Rose from London Real. You probably know that we've just recently been re-platformed on YouTube after 25 months completely in the dark. The truth is, I really need your help. What I really need you to do is click on that subscribe button right now, like this video, and maybe even leave a comment or share the link with friends. We're really fighting against an algorithm that's tried to keep us quiet for so long, and the more subscribers we have, the more people watch our content, the better guests we can bring you, the better content, and we can continue transforming lives. We've been doing this for 14 years now. I want to do this for another 14 years, but I really need your help. So click on that subscribe button, like the video, leave a comment, share this, and we're going to continue to bring you more and more great content. Thank you. This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is David Icke, the English writer, broadcaster, and public speaker known since the 1990s as a professional conspiracy researcher, calling yourself a full-time investigator into who and what is really controlling the world. You are the author of over 21 books and have lectured in over 25 countries, speaking live for up to 10 hours to huge audiences, filling stadiums like Wembley Arena. You are here for the third time this year to talk about the COVID-19 pandemic and global lockdown, the looming economic recession, dangerous technology rollouts, potential mandatory vaccinations, and the violation of our basic human right to freedom of speech. David, welcome back to London Real.
Thank you, Brian.
First of all, I want to announce that we are streaming now on our new Digital Freedom platform, which is a censorship-free, independent broadcasting system that is of the people, by the people, for the people, and available exclusively through our website at londonreal.tv. Can everyone watching please share this link now via the sidebar to any and all of your social media channels? Let me repeat that. Can everyone watching please share this link now via the sidebar to any and all of your social media channels? This is important. Simply ask your friends and family to give us 15 minutes, and then they can decide. David, I pledge to you and everyone watching us that none of this conversation will be edited, censored, removed, or banned, and that anyone in the world can watch the full version of this episode free at londonreal.tv/live, thanks to the generous donations of over 25,000 people around the world, also known as the London Real Army. For anyone wanting to become a founding member of this digital freedom platform, you can visit londonreal.tv/freedom to donate and fight with us on the front lines to protect our human rights. Here at London Real, we've been a platform for free speech since 2011, and David, I'm excited to have you here today. I want to bring everyone up to speed on recent events, so I'm going to start there. 46 days ago, on March 18th, we broadcast Rose Icke 1, which was our first conversation of 2020, where I asked you to make sense of the early days of the coronavirus pandemic and global market crash, as the UK was not yet out of total lockdown. In this conversation, you spoke about your concept of problem, reaction, solution, you questioned the motives of the World Health Organization, and you warned of the looming Hunger Games society. This episode immediately went viral and was watched over 10 million times from people all around the world keen to learn a different narrative than that of the mainstream media and governments. Then, 27 days ago, on April 6th, we broadcast our second conversation of 2020, Rose Icke 2, via YouTube, that became the second biggest live stream in the world that day, only behind that of the President of the United States, Donald Trump. With 65,000 concurrent viewers and nearly 4 times the previous live stream, we expected this episode to reach 40 million views, making it the largest video podcast in human history. 30 minutes later, that live stream episode was deleted and banned on YouTube with no explanation and no communication. In that episode, you spoke of the COVID-19 misdiagnosis and the misclassification of deaths, further dangerous technology rollouts, the vaccine agenda, economic totalitarianism, and the weaponizing of fear. The next day, a BBC article broke the news, and our representatives at YouTube accused you of being a COVID-19 denier and subsequently deleted and banned an additional 10 of your videos and my personal vlogs from our YouTube channel. Instagram, Facebook, and Dropbox followed suit by deleting and banning more of our videos, and then London Real was completely deplatformed from LinkedIn and Vimeo without explanation. But we fought back and continued to host both episodes, Rose Icke 1 and Rose Icke 2, on our website to millions and millions of viewers, and we still do today, while also suffering very sophisticated malicious attacks on our technology platform. Next, the UK regulator Ofcom, who is also in charge of issuing 5G licenses in this country, censored the broadcast of Rose Icke 1 on London Live, which is a television channel we have provided content to for many years. Ofcom said, and I quote, "It risked causing significant harm to viewers." At this point, I had had enough, and I believe in the fundamental right to freedom of speech. So I decided we could no longer rely on any third party for broadcasting, and 11 days ago we began crowdfunding to create the Digital Freedom Platform, which has now raised over $1 million worldwide from over 25,000 people fighting for the right to free speech and freedom of the press. It's been an incredible vote of confidence in what we're doing. Then, 2 days ago on May 1st, you were completely deplatformed from Facebook for publishing, quote, health misinformation that could cause physical harm, unquote. You responded by saying, the funny thing about fascism is that it's so predictable. Yesterday, on May 2nd, you were completely deplatformed from YouTube because, quote, YouTube has clear policies prohibiting any content that disputes the existence and transmission of COVID-19 as described by the WHO and NHS. Your channel had more than 900,000 subscribers at the time it was removed. Which brings us to today, May 3rd, Rose Icke 3, which is being live streamed now to over 1 million people on our new Digital Freedom platform. Again, to everyone watching, please take a few seconds right now and share this link via the sidebar to any and all of your social media channels. Simply ask your friends and family, give us 15 minutes, then they can decide. David, I'll be honest, these past 3 weeks have been some of the most challenging in my entire life. My reputation has been questioned, my business is under threat, and my human rights are being taken away from me every single day. but it's also been the most empowering time of my life. I got millions of people from around the world rising up and voicing their support. And as a result, I've never been so steadfast in my convictions for the basic fundamental right of freedom of speech and freedom of the press. And that's why we are here broadcasting today. David, I want to thank you for 30 years of tireless work and for your own conviction to fight on. And now I've got one question for you. Where do we begin?
Well, welcome to my world, Brian. And before I say anything, I think what you and your team have done is absolutely magnificent, because the cutting edge, as I know from 30 years of trying to be there, is a very lonely place, and it's the point of the arrow, so there's not many people there. And to do that, to be there, you have to, first of all, have a constantly open mind to information, but you have to have a backbone that won't vibrate. One that says, I'm going to stand up for what I believe to be right. And no matter what is thrown at me, I will go on standing up for what I believe to be right. Because I'm not going to stand here, sit here, and start going off defending myself. Oh, don't say that about me. How you could say that about me? I couldn't care less what you say about me. Boom, boom, boom. And let them worry about me. And 30 years of my life has been kind of leading to this moment, certainly leading to this time. And I said to you in the last interview, and some people might have thought it was a bit of bravado, I said, I'm more powerful than them, and they know it. And within minutes of the interview ending, they were proving me right. Here they are, this cult that I will explain, that control the mainstream media. My God, has that been any more obvious than in the last few weeks? They control Silicon Valley. They own Silicon Valley. They own the corporations. They own the banking system. And yet, one interview with one guy, and this all-powerful, we're in control, omnipotent, all-powerful force is running around like someone shouting, fire! Gotta take him off this, take him off that, take him off this, take him off the other. And what are they saying, Brian? They're saying, you're more powerful, one man, than we are. And so we have to stop what you're saying getting to people, because we know the consequences for us of that happening. And, you know, everything is a frequency. My voice now is a frequency. And mendacity, lies, deceit is a frequency. Truth is a frequency, a much more powerful frequency. And they know the power of the truth circulating because people resonate with it. And so if they are going to pull off what we're unfolding now, what we're experiencing now, and they are going to control billions of people, they have to control their perception. They have to. We are in the situation we are now because of mass human perception. Part of that perception is there is a dangerous virus, so I must stay indoors because the authorities are looking after my interests and they've told me that I have to, and if I go out I might catch this deadly virus and oh my God, we're all going to die. And that perception allows vast numbers of people to concede their uniqueness, to concede their freedom, and to sit in their house under house arrest, being told what to do by a handful of people. And the other perception is I can see there's something not right here, but what are the consequences of me saying so or taking this on and challenging it? And that perception of what are the consequences for me means that lots of people who have realized something's not right, my God, is it not right? We'll get into that, also sit under house arrest. And those two perceptions, they are the reason that this is happening. Because when you break down the number of people behind this in each country and globally, it is tiny. I'm going to explain how that's possible. And yet there are getting on for 8 billion people. There are 66 million people in Britain. The number of people that are locking down Britain are tiny. It's perception and fear of consequences that are making this all possible and are destroying the independent livelihoods of billions of people. And the greatest form of control is dependency. You need this to survive, and because of this economic Armageddon we have created, we are the only way you're going to get it. And you know, to get it, you do exactly what we say. And that's the dynamic that we have shifted into in a matter of weeks. We need to come out of denial and realize that we are now living in a global version of Nazi Germany. No, they don't have the jackboots. No, they don't have a silly mustache. But the structure is the same. A tiny few people dictating to everyone else. And we will have a lot of people watching here, Brian, who will be new to this. And I'm kind of pretty much in a position now to go through a sequence of events and background manipulation that will explain in very simple terms how a tiny few people have pulled off a fake pandemic with no virus and convinced vast numbers of people that there is a virus and they are in danger. Because and giving up their freedom is essential to their survival.
And most people have a hard time to even conceive that there might not be a virus because they see the pictures of New York City. They see the pictures of the ICU. They see the numbers on the newspaper. They see the president talking about it. So most people would say, David, there's obviously something happening.
Oh, there's something happening, and there are people dying. But the shocking, he said, what? Can all be explained, and I will today, in very simple terms. But just some quick background for people new to this, because there's some background that is essential to understanding how this was pulled off. First of all, for much of the last 30 years, in my books, I have been pointing out that there is I call it the cult. There is a global network that works through secret societies and literally satanic groups that has a structure in place, which I'm going to describe. It's so simple. It has to be, or it wouldn't work. To dictate from a central point down into even local communities. the first thing to get across, and as I explain this, current events are going to become very crystal clear in terms of why they're happening, is where does this cult want to take human society? This is not something that's happened in weeks. This goes back a very, very long period of time. This is why people like Aldous Huxley in Brave New World and George Orwell in 1984 were able to predict current events, because this has been in the planning for a very, very long time. And if you can access that inner sanctum, if you like, where this plan is being projected from, you can predict the future real simple. Because if the plan for the transformation and the direction of human society is not challenged, if there's not an intervention by people to stop it, then it will happen. And so by predicting what the plan is, you're predicting the future, because the plan is going to play out unless we intervene. And it is playing out, and current events are a massive advancement of it playing out. So where do they want to take the world? I've been describing this for a long, long time as what I call the Hunger Games Society, obviously named after the movie trilogy. And the reason I use that phrase is because where they want to take the world, and I will emphasize again, this is not me speaking now since the lockdown and the pandemic hoax. This is me speaking decades ago, writing decades ago, that this was the plan. And the Hunger Games Society is designed, if you think of a pyramid, to have a tiny few at the top. We call them the 1% today. And at the bottom, the rest of humanity, basically, in dependency, in deprivation, in poverty, and crucially, again, the word dependent upon the 1% for the means of survival. And in between the 1% and the rest of the population in this Hunger Games society, you have in the end, what they want it to be is a police military state, a fusion of the two. But a police military state which imposes the will of the 1% upon the rest of the population and stops the population challenging the 1%. Now, I've been saying over all these years, this is where they want to take us. And one other level of this, again, as I've been saying for a long, long time, is that this Hunger Games society would be controlled by technology. So we're talking about a fascist, communist, global society with an addition, that it is controlled by technology, which makes it what people call a technocracy, which is defined as a society not controlled by elected politicians. They want rid of all that, but by technocrats, by bureaucrats, by scientists, by medical bureaucrats and technocrats, by engineers and scientists, etc. And we've been moving in that direction very clearly. But what do you need more than anything if you're going to make that society reality? You have to destroy the independent livelihood of vast numbers of the population. Because while they're running their businesses and employing people and operating independently, making money, paying employees, you're not going to put humanity in totality in the bottom reaches of that Hunger Games society in deprivation, in poverty, and dependency on the few. And this fake pandemic, which I'm going to explain, has been employed for many reasons, but profoundly right in there is to have a lockdown of business, particularly small business, which almost in vast numbers will not survive. The big people can. To have a lockdown long enough to destroy the independent livelihood of vast numbers of the human population. And at the end of our first interview, Brian, you said to me, well, where does it go from here? And I said, what they're going to do is they're going to keep this going until they reach the point where they think we've now reached a situation where we've transformed human society, we have destroyed the independent livelihood of enormous numbers of people, and it's irreversible. And that's what they're holding on to. And what you're going to see is some of it rolled back, as little as they can get away with. And then they're planning new waves of the virus, which we're going to get into, and then they will bring lockdown back. And the other part of this is they want the whole human population vaccinated, and we'll get into that later, and the almost indescribable extremes of psychopath that we have in Bill Gates. So that's where they want to take society.
Okay. Let me ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
Why would someone who was a member of the 1%, who, take, for example, Gates, like with hundreds of billions of dollars, and say the 1% is wealthy, they have real estate, they have jets, why would they want more?
Well, because I think this is something we should get into later, because I can explain this. But this is not about money, you see. This is about control. This is about a complete takeover, not just of humans in the physical sense, if you like. It's to take over their minds and their perceptions directly in the end through connecting their brains, human brains, to AI, which they're already talking about, and they're already giving us a time scale of 2030. And all this is going on now. They're all stepping stones to that.
And why do they want to do that? Why?
Well, that is a big picture, which would be better, I think, a little bit later on, when I can get into all that. Who are these people and why are they doing it? Because it goes very, very deep. And they are hijacking human society. They're hijacking the human race. And later in the chat, we should get into that, because it's apparently far out, but less and less far out, as what we thought was far out in terms of this would never happen is now happening. But the point about, we talked about where they want to go. So how do they take us there? And what's the structure that allows them to pull off something like this global fake pandemic, as I would call it? If you think of a transnational corporation, the structure is basically the same, except that instead of subsidiaries in different countries, it's secret society networks and family bloodline networks. So you have a central point, say the headquarters of this cult, and it operates in the shadows. And it's dictating from the center. Then in each country, you have subsidiary networks of this cult. And their job in each country is to control that country's politics, government administration, what we call with control of the intelligence network, control of the military, and so on. We call the deep state now. We even have a word for it. I've been writing about this for decades. Now people are actually calling it the deep state. So you have these networks, and they are there to control the politics, government administration, major corporations, the banking system and finance, and the media, ownership of the media, to control perception by controlling information. And part of these different pyramidal hierarchies with the cult at the top include control of the medical systems in each country, control of health systems, control of the big pharmaceutical cartel, mainstream medicine arena. So this is going on in every country, with the central point, I call it the spider, dictating, just like a transnational corporation dictates to its subsidiaries, and they're all working to the same agenda, the same blueprint. And there's two mass mind control, mass mind perceptual manipulation techniques that this cult uses to advance its agenda. One I called a long time ago problem, reaction, solution, where you covertly create a problem, you get your unquestioning media, have we seen that or not in the last few weeks, to tell the public the version of that problem you want them to believe, and you want the public to be saying, in a state of fear and anxiety or outrage, something must be done. What are they going to do about it? And then those who've covertly created the problem and got that reaction then openly offer the solutions to the problems they've covertly created and blame someone else for. And there's another version of that, which I have called no problem reaction solution. That's where you don't need a real problem, you need the perception of one. Weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. There was a no problem reaction solution to justify the invasion with all its ongoing consequences of Iraq. There's a no problem reaction solution called human caused climate change, which, when you break down the facts as opposed to the propaganda, is absolutely unsupportable. And then we come to current events and a colossal, of historic, unprecedented proportions, no problem reaction solution, the global pandemic. So with that background, how have they pulled it off? Well, I go back to the fact that each country has its own subsidiary network of the cult, whose job is to impose the will of the cult, centrally dictated. And therefore, these different subsidiaries can work as one unit, when to the public, they're different countries, there are borders, there are different races and political systems. Actually, at the cult level, there are no borders. This is vital to understand. Something else I've been saying for decades before this started is the blueprint for the global Orwellian fascist society, the technocracy, is China. I said what they are doing and what they've done, this has been in my books for years, they have had a fierce, vicious dictatorship in China for a long period. This means, unlike in the West, where until now, no longer, they've had to pay lip service to freedom and democracy and all that stuff. In China, what we want, we're bloody doing. And so they've been able, through simple imposition, to create and incubate the very society that this cult wants globally. And China is a technocracy. It's run by technology and by technocrats, to the point where there are millions of face recognition cameras in Chinese cities, and as documentaries have shown, they could find almost anyone in minutes through this real-time face recognition system. It is, in China, what they want the world to be. Now, here's a question. What has the West become since this pandemic was launched? It has become increasingly China. That has been the plan all along. And where did this pandemic start? China. So let's start there. We're in Wuhan. Wuhan, like northern Italy, which was the center of their pandemic, is notorious for extraordinary levels of toxic air. It has, as a result of that, enormous amounts of respiratory lung disease, breathing the stuff in. So suddenly people start getting taken ill, about just under 200 people in Wuhan, and they connected at first to a wet market and stuff, strange things that they eat. But as Dr. Andrew Kaufman, who you, of course, interviewed this week, and I've been quoting for a long time, an absolutely forensic medical researcher who goes back to original papers and reads them, not secondhand. As he's pointed out, the Chinese authorities, I say, this cult network, looked at these people that were taken ill, and they decided on no evidence, no scientific proof that the cause of it was a virus. And what they did was take fluid from the lungs, I think it was about 7 people, and they looked at what they could find in it. And they found a genetic code, what they call an RNA genetic code, not a virus. As Kaufman points out, at no point has this genetic material been what they call purified to get rid of all the other material in the code and leave just the virus, which they say is causing this illness that they're claiming. And they could do it through a filtration process. They did not do it. And the point about this genetic material is it's found in vast numbers of people. And so when they started testing for it, and this PCR test that they're testing for COVID-19 all over the world now, as doctors and scientists have pointed out, those with the guts to come out, they ain't testing for COVID-19. They're testing for this genetic material that's found in loads of bodies, people's bodies. That's why so many are testing positive. They're not testing positive for a virus. So what happened in China, stage 1, is first of all, they started diagnosing this new virus they have not purified and shown to exist through symptoms. They would really struggle in Wuhan to find respiratory symptoms, wouldn't they? Just like everywhere. So they start saying that these respiratory illnesses that you find all the time in Wuhan were now this new virus. No proof. And so the numbers started getting up. And then they introduced this test, which is not testing for a virus, it's testing for genetic material that loads of people have in their body as a matter of course. Therefore, they're testing positive. And if you remember, there was this massive hype. They built hospitals in days, to meet, oh God, what's happening? Oh, we're all dying. When you actually break down the numbers now, the number of people who appear to have died from this in China dramatically less than we were led to believe. So now the media eventually starts hyping this up. Ooh, this could come to the West, this could come to the West. And the numbers were going up in China. Oh, we're all going to die. And then it starts moving westward. And this is the key to understand. This is the key to the whole scam. The Chinese reaction to this virus was a draconian, merciless lockdown. People locked in their homes where they starved, it seems. People pulled off the street. There was this draconian lockdown. And then what happened? Suddenly, the figures start to fall. Just as this thing is moving into the West, or we told it is, the figures start to fall. Now, if you don't have a virus, but you are giving the impression that there's one through symptom diagnosis and a test that's absolutely useless and not testing for a virus, then you have control of the figures. You know, people have said to me in the alternative media, well, why would they not have a virus? Why wouldn't they just release a bioweapon, right? Well, if you release a virus that actually is real and it is deadly, well, immediately you release it, you lost control of it. And you have the potential of taking out lots of people you don't want taking out. Because although there's a tiny number of you at the core, you're relying on lots of compartmentalized people in the system to impose your will on society. You don't want to take them out. You lose control of it. But if you are creating the illusion of a virus through figures and symptoms that are other diseases, and through a test that is testing positive for a genetic material that loads of people have in their body and not for a virus, and if you are giving the impression that lots of people are dying from this virus because you're telling doctors, we'll come to this, and they've admitted it, lots of them, you're telling doctors that if they test positive for COVID-19, i.e. this genetic material, which loads of people have, then COVID-19 must go on the death certificate, even if they've died of lung cancer or heart disease, or they've fallen down the frickin' stairs. People who are new to this will go, that's ridiculous. No, this is what is happening, and this is what brave doctors that have come out are telling you. And indeed, you can see the legislation and the regulations. Do you know, in places like Scotland, it's the rule that if someone is testing positive for COVID-19, in other words, this genetic material, not the virus, and they die within 28 days, COVID-19 has to go on the death certificate. This is how they're scamming it, right?
And we're seeing testimonials from doctors in America that are being pressured to write things on an autopsy report. They've never experienced that in their careers. He said, you always just say the facts, but we've seen these doctors in California and New York City and a lot of places that saying they're being pushed for this diagnosis.
Now, here's a question straight away. If there is a real virus, why do you have to fix the figures on the unbelievable monumental scale that they have? You don't. You have to fix the figures when there's a scam going on. That's why in the climate change arena, fixing the data has come to light so often, because they don't have a real problem, so they have to fix the data to give the impression that they do. In the same way, they don't have a real virus, so they have to fix the data to give the impression that there is one. Now, if we go back to China, so it was absolutely crucial, for reasons that will become clear, that when this thing started in China, that the Chinese model of responding to it, which was a draconian lockdown, became the blueprint for dealing with this pandemic. So immediately that started, and they had those incredibly vicious impositions by the Chinese fascist government. Immediately, the World Health Organization came out, and this guy Tedros, who's been on the payroll of Gates for a long time, the Director General, said, China has shown how you deal with it. And the World Health Organization is owned by Bill Gates. He's the second biggest funder, second only to the government of the United States. And again, if you think of this global web and all the different subsidiaries, the World Health Organization is one of this cult's fronts. It was created by the Rockefeller family. It's now run by Bill Gates. It's his personal fiefdom on behalf of the cult, because he's a cult operative. And this...
To continue watching the rest of the episode for free, visit our website londonreal.tv or click the link in the description below.
Most people will never see this opportunity. Dubai luxury transformation projects have historically delivered 40 to 90% annual returns. That is incredible. These were once reserved only for insiders with access. I spent 15 years on Wall Street, and I learned this: the biggest returns always go to the people who get the call first. Now, you finally can. We've just received a brand new project with major upside potential. Allocations move fast. Click the link, apply now, and speak to my team. This is your chance to see what others never will.